Alright guys, today I watched this video by Goodgis. Apparently he couldn't finish his video game till now, which when I saw the notification I thought he would say that he's done of it. Looks like a very bad pre-production for a first impression. So let's see what happened to his project, why it's still not finished after 5 years of development.
Back in January of 2020, I decided to embark on a journey to create my first commercial indie game. My goal was to spend a month building a short 30-minute Metroidvania that would help me get more comfortable with finishing and shipping games.
By the way, I was so excited for that game. The art style of this game looks astonishing, very amazing. Also, I like the idea of the art style, compatibility with the narrative design, so it was nice. I really wanted to try that game out to see if I could make a very detailed breakdown analysis of it in my channel. Unfortunately, I wish I could try it as soon as possible and he can finish production as soon as possible, but looks like he hit a rock. So let's see what problem he faced.
Many hobbyist developers, I was great at starting projects, but I was just terrible at finishing them. Now, I'm not entirely sure why I chose to make a Metroidvania, other than the fact that years earlier, I had created a very Metroid-inspired game for a game jam with some friends. Around that time, I also played a Metroidvania called Bobo Robot, and the scale and the scope of that game just felt perfect for what I had in mind. And when it came to picking a theme, I've always been drawn to things like Pikmin or The Secret World of Arrietty, games, books, and stories where the protagonist is tiny and they see the world from a bug's perspective. So when the idea struck me to make a game about a bee in a whimsical world full of insects, it just clicked. Only later on did I realize I had unconsciously...
It's very nice, the parallax effect he did here with the fog dusty effect matching the colors of the tile set. Also, I like how he did not over complex some of the pixel density like many people who does 2D non-detailed pixel density video games do, like they do the background over detailed or stuff like that. So he did a very nice job in art. That's why I was excited. He also did a very amazing job in the post-processing, as you see.
Chosen the exact same theme as like Hollow Knight, a game I knew nothing about at the time, but a decision that would bring some challenges and some pain points down the road. And thus, Dewdrop Dynasty was born. At first, life was bliss, and I had no idea what a monumental task I had taken on. So after
he faced a problem that's always relate with small developers, which is they disregard pre-production plans. They disregard making a full GDD. They disregard making a full production plan in the pre-production, like does every character design, every decision before starting production, which by the way increase the production time for a very long time. They try to make rules for it, like double the time you think you're gonna finish this video game in, but sometimes it does not work. Sometimes it triples, quadruples, or even multiplied by 100 times you thought it will make. This is just bad pre-production, by the way.
Busy month trying to make this game. What did I have to show for it? Not much. Basically, it took me 4 weeks to make this prototype. And the problem? Well, the problem is I didn't actually play Metroidvania games. I knew so little about the...
That's very bad. You need to make games that you know every small details about. If you want to make a platformer, play 5 or 6 or even 10 video games of platformers. Finish them 100%. Watch review videos, watch review documents, read documents and book about game design of this video game, because you will gonna need a lot of brainstorming. You cannot just make a game that you never played.
Genre, other than the fact that you explore and pick up upgrades, that it was honestly kind of embarrassing. But instead of giving it all up, I decided to push ahead and build 2 more drastically different prototypes. And it was at this point that I started this channel and began documenting the game's journey here on YouTube. And let me tell you, it was an incredible feeling to have people watch these videos and be excited about this game. But it also was really stressful. As time passed and my channel continued to grow, I became painfully aware that my game just wasn't that impressive. The art was incredibly basic, which I did on purpose in order to keep the game.
But he improved the art later on. If you see his video on improving his art, and he improved a lot of stuff, to be honest. Again, sorry for my voice, I just had a dental implant, so yeah, My voice is a bit rough.
Small, but it also just didn't do itself any favors. Not to mention
I
that
like the
gameplay
bloom
was
that
just
he did
really
there.
lackluster and generic. I knew at this point, especially with the audience that I had, that I couldn't release the game as is. I could already see the swarm of negative Steam reviews bouncing around in my head, and I just couldn't do it. It was at this time that people started leaving seemingly innocent comments saying, this game's going to be better than Hollow Knight, or this game's going to be the best game ever, which is incredibly sweet of people to say, but come on, let's be serious. This game ain't fooling anyone. And even though this journey could have ended at this point, I realized that I grew out of my original goals. And of course it didn't change that I wanted to make a commercial game. I wanted to make a commercial game that was actually worth people's money. But at this time I was
The water idea is nice, by the way. I like it so much, especially with the gun mechanic of like trying to push yourself. It's a very nice mechanic.
really on the fence on what to do. I had to either take this game seriously or cancel the project. And I'm not gonna lie, I was really close to giving
No,
up.
the animation on that is very, very bad. Make him like use his hand to jump. This looks like a very basic boss mechanic which will not work. The background art look amazing. Maybe add more cheese props that you already designed here and make a very effective animation for this to just make it unique from the all the mechanic of boss fight that just jump around. Also, you need to make him do multiple moves. Like sometimes he jump and makes a very big slam down the ground that like does a shockwave.
This point, but I knew I'd always regret it if I did. I ended up deciding to do a Kickstarter. I figured that if the game was fully
Alright, this is a very nice thing to do, doing a fund-me, because it will not give you the obligation of a publisher. Of course, it would not give you the advantages of having a publisher like the marketing accessibility, but it would give you a very nice kickstart or a start for your project. So this is, especially if you have a very big community like Goodgis community, you can really do that and get a very nice funding to start your project. It would be very
funded,
nice.
not only
Many
with
games did it. I think even Undertale did a Kickstarter or like a fund me thing.
the resources be fantastic in making the game even better, but it would also show me that there is interest in this game. So after months of research, working 12 hours a day, and restless nights, I worked my butt off to launch a Kickstarter and a demo of the game during the Steam Next Fest. Not to mention I was about to have my first baby.
What do you think, guys? If there's a demo, should I try it and make a breakdown analysis of?
Absolutely nuts. We finally launched the campaign on October of 2022, and after an emotional roller coaster of a month, we got funded in the last 24 hours. And this
Again, 25,000 funding is very nice for a 2D Metroidvania game. Of course, it's very out of budget when we talk in AA titles or big companies doing this, but it's all about a very indie small project that he is solo deving. So it's very good to use, because of course you will need some budget for the music, compositing and sound effects. Maybe if you need to do multilingual support, even if you have a very big community like Goodgis have, you need to really make a solid multilingual support for the game. Study which language you should put. Usually you should do like English, simplified Chinese, traditional Chinese, Japanese, Russian, Spanish, such languages, because they are the most well known. Korean too. I looked like most of 2D indie titles get Korean downloads in like Steam, so you can do that. But again, a $25,000. So for an indie title, it might be a big number. 25,000 funding. For other companies it might be little, and for a publisher contract might be also little, but it's a very good start for Goodgis to have. So I don't really know where was the problem that late in his project for over 5 years of production, which is a very large amount. Only if he like produced very big number of content.
It was the turning point for me. The next 3 years, I completely dedicated myself to the game. I rebuilt the game in Godot 4, I overhauled the graphics.
I don't advise this. If you are working on a version, especially in Unity or Unreal Engine, if you are working on a version of the engine, do not upgrade for the next version. It breaks out a lot of your progress in the project. It breaks a lot of the codes of the stuff that you worked on. Godot looked like have not much of problems in the transition from 3.0 to 4.0 releases. It might have in the future. So when you do a project in a certain version in a video game engine, stick with the version that you are using. It's gonna cause a lot of problems, especially in Unity. and Unreal Engine has that too.
I built a massive interconnected map, made bosses, enemies, NPCs, worked on things I never even thought about before, and all while still working a full-time job as a graphic designer for a Fortune 100 company, having a second kid, and making these YouTube videos at the same time. Now, I don't say any of this to make you feel bad or sorry for me, but I just want to show the reality and the challenges of what it takes to be a game developer, especially if you're a little bit later in life. So you may be wondering, now that I'm 5 years in, how close am I to finally finishing this game? And the surprising answer is a lot closer than I think. The past few months, I've noticed that my checklists keep getting smaller and smaller. Even little bonus things I've wanted to add to the game for like years, I've finally been able to do. Things like collectible hats, a shop system.
This looks nice.
And even just updating Poe's walk cycle. I mean, he desperately needed.
Yeah, this looks way better. The frames are more and make him look like he is moving faster and closer to the speed that he put to the character. Always people does something wrong, which is do not make the speed as equal as the animation speed. So sometimes the animation speed is low and the character is moving fast, which gives the impression of the character sliding through the ground and not really walking. You could improve that by either lowering the speed or connecting it with the animation speed variable inside Unity and make it increase as the speed increase, or if you were using acceleration and stuff like that. And also you could use like dust effects when he's walking if you want to make him like run very fast or stuff like that. So you should match the animation speed with the speed of the character.
An update. And this is really strange, but the bulk of the work that remains is mostly just art related, which is crazy to me. Like, I've never worked on a game long enough to basically have nothing left to program. It's so bizarre.
As we said before multiple times, only 30% of the development of a full game would be coding. 70% would go for art, direction, and stuff like that. So we can take 30% for very hard-coded games. By they are talking about MMORPGs and very complex coding games. We're not talking even about platformers. The percentage goes down with these type of projects. But for a Metroidvania, yeah, it could take 25-30% of the production time. The amount goes usually for art, because you're gonna need to do a lot of art. You're gonna need to do a lot of animations, especially for a 3D game. The percentage increase a lot more, because art, we're talking here about direction, music, the art itself, and related stuff to it. So usually the coding is not the hard part that most solo dev think it is.
The downside is, remember what I said about Hollow Knight biting me in the butt in the future? Well, with the release of its sequel game Silksong due in a couple of months, it's really put me in a strange position.
Don't release it. Marketing is important. Even if your game was one of the best Metroidvania games ever to exist, you're not going to compete in the market with Silksong. Wait, either publish it before the release of Silksong in a couple of months, or release it after the release of Silksong in a couple of months. You already worked for the game for 5 years. You don't want to miss on a lot of people that gonna play it because they are just busy playing Silksong. That would be a disaster for your video game.
I have this sneaking suspicion that Dewdrop is going to come out at the same time, and I'm worried that it's absolutely going to destroy the game because Silksong is just so popular. So really, my goal has been to work like a madman to try to release it before Silksong, but if I can't, I just feel like I have no other choice than to delay the game a couple of months to give it some breathing room. I don't know, I would love to hear your guys' thoughts about it, because it's kind of a weird situation to be working on a game this long and then have to wait. I don't know. Let me know. Either way,
it's okay. Do marketing. Many people does. There's post-production phases. So there's a post-production phase after the production, which is like playtesting, changing variables to really do a very good difficulty curve for the game. There is bug fixes and stuff like that. Doing patches. Try your game in different PCs and different screen sizes. That will trigger a lot of problems that you've never faced in the production phase. And also there is the marketing phase and then the patches phase. So it's okay to take time until the song really releases, and you take like a couple of months after its release.
Reflecting back on my journey over the last 5 years, it's taught me a few things. First and foremost, that having a clear scope and a goal for your game is basically essential if you want to finish it. I made a huge mistake of not having a clear plan other than just making a commercial
Again, as
game.
we said, pre-production. Always do a very solid GDD and a very solid pre-production plan.
And I kind of wasted 2 good years of development time just trying to figure it out. So have a plan, have a purpose, and it'll be easier. Secondly is dedicate yourself to the game. I mean, a project is like a marriage. If you want to get the very best out of it, you have to be committed and stick around even during the hard times. I truly believe that if I gave up on Dewdrop, that I would continue to have commitment issues. I probably wouldn't finish anything, because why would I finish something? When it gets hard, I might as well just do something else. Number 3 is have grace for yourself. I think that the thing I've probably struggled with the most over the years is just getting so mad at myself for not finishing this game sooner. There almost becomes a shame when you work on a project for so long. But like the old adage says, good games take time to make, especially if you have a bunch of other responsibilities. So have some grace for yourself and know that things just take time. And finally, number 4, everything is a learning experience. I've gained so many new skills and experiences that I never would have learned if I didn't make this game. I feel so well equipped to make indie games after this that it would be irresponsible for me to not make more after I finish Dewdrop. So just know that you learn from everything, and it's important to have those experiences. So I hope that by sharing my story, you can learn from some of my mistakes. Now, at the end of the day, if Dewdrop Dynasty is a success or a total flop, it really doesn't matter. All I know is I made a game that I think is fun and I'm proud of, and I wouldn't trade these last 5 years for anything. So wish me luck as I finally bring this game over the finish line. Now, if you're someone who's interested in programming yourself or you want to make games,
Again, an amazing video by Goodgis. Definitely go and check out his channel. It is an amazing video, and you need to really check out his full playlist of his devlogs. You're gonna learn a lot, especially if you're working with Godot game engine. He talks a lot about it, and it is a very amazing engine for 2D games. I really always advise people to, if they do not really like Unity and want to open source engine, you can just go and do your 2D game inside Godot if you have a prior experience in it. Always go with the thing that you have a prior experience in. So it's an amazing video. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next episode.